Hello, everyone.
How's everybody
Hey,
doing?
Carmen.
It's good. It's good.
Okay, John Boutte, I chair the Southwest Common Council Education Committee, and I think I've managed to pass off the Southwest Common Council meetings itself. I'm going to be able to focus on this group if I don't lose my mind first. But so, anyways, we have, well, Eleanor can go next.
Eleanor Coleman. I'm with Catholic Charities, the new CC. It's a new name instead of Catholic Family Center, Catholic Charities, Family and Community Services, Youth Build, the Youth Build program, and Rotary Southwest.
Hey, Lee.
I'm Lee Loomis. I'm with the Rochester Engineering Society, and I lead their tutoring team at Dr. Walter Cooper Academy number 10 school. And I'm also a Rotarian in the Rush Henrietta Club.
Okay. Ms. Jones, if you will.
Hello, this is Carmen Jones, and I am the Community Center Manager for the Willie W. Lightfoot Art Center located at 71 Flint Street, and also the Frederick Douglass Art Center located at 999 South Ave.
Your center is going to be open this summer, or?
Yeah. Yes, both sites will be open this summer. So the Frederick Douglass Art Center was closed from last August to now due to renovations, and we will have a ribbon cutting before July 5th, so in June, but that date is not confirmed yet, but I will send that information once it is available.
Great. Okay, Tiffany.
Hello, this is Tiffany Owens, Executive Director for Southwest Area Neighborhood Association at Montgomery Center.
Very good. And Charles?
Hi, Charles Reeves, Southwest Neighborhood Service Center Administrator.
Great. Very good. Well, we may have some more folks joining us. There were quite a few more who indicated they were going to be joining us, but it's been a very busy few weeks here, and everybody's deluged with meetings. Let's see. Do you have anything new from from school, Ken, Lee? Nothing new.
I had a very encouraging meeting face-to-face with Michelle White, the community site coordinator, at number 10 school Monday. And we talked extensively. Boy, I like working with people face-to-face rather than screen to screen.
Mm-hmm.
We made a lot of progress in terms of me helping her understand how the tutoring team has functioned at number 10 school for the last 7 years or so, albeit nothing much has happened the last 2.5 because of the pandemic. But she really appreciated the detailed explanation, gave me lots of time, and we're starting to make plans for seeing if we can't get tutors into number 10 school in person beginning probably the 3rd week in September this year. It takes 2 or 3 weeks for the teachers to identify the kids in their classes who need additional help, and then to come up with, we come up with a schedule of when they could use tutors, and then I basically offer that up to my tutors, individual tutors, and my tutoring teams, which are teams of 4 people who tutor 1 week a month, the equivalent 4 people being 1 full-time tutor. And we offer these needs up for them to sign up for, and then we set a schedule for the coming year for who's going to tutor where and when, at what time, on what day. But I'm more encouraged than I have been in quite a while with how Michelle and I hit it off and how she seems so receptive to what it is we've been doing and what it is we might be able to do going forward.
Yeah, the interactions I've had with her have been very encouraging. She's really on top of things and very communicative. So I hope she can stay there for enough time to get all the things done we need.
Well, she refers to her coordinatorship at number 10 school as her dream job. This is the job she's always
fantastic.
wanted. So I'm encouraged by that.
Yeah.
That's great. What's her last name, Lee?
White.
White. Okay.
First name Michelle with one L. White.
And Mia, the coordinator at School 16, is also excellent, and I think we're going to have a couple of good coordinators there if they can stay there long enough, because the district tends to move people around. Santos. I don't know. Hopefully it's not somebody trying to get in, because I don't see any other folks waiting. So I was hoping we'd have one of the folks from the assembly joining us. He had indicated he would, but anyways, we've got two bills in the one in the assembly, one in the Senate for half-mile busing, which you would hope would have heard by now that it's going to pass for sure. But while it seems like everybody's in favor for it, we haven't officially heard the word that we have it. But it's let's see. Were you at the meeting with Sean? Not Sean, with the fellow from the DNC at the coalition meeting, Lee?
Justin Murphy.
Yeah, Justin Murphy. That's
He's the one who wrote the book with the hard to remember title.
Mm-hmm.
Something like, "Yes, indeed, your children are really in danger," or words to that effect.
Yeah,
and it's basically a synopsis of segregation in the Rochester city school system.
Yeah, that's. I caught the last half of that meeting, unfortunately. I was hoping to catch the whole meeting, but I contacted him later about the new legislation there for repeal of receivership law. And he didn't know anything about it, which surprised me because he seems to be on top of everything. Everybody else who I sent emails to asking, do you know anything about this? I haven't heard back from yet. It's like, gee, nobody wants to talk about it. But it sounds like it could be good, because one of the things that receivership has always sounded like a somewhat, if not a very negative thing. They tend to, it's kind of a punitive approach to improving schools, from my take, from having seen it at several of the schools. But the new legislation, which is the fourth item on the agenda there, S9284, sounds like it gets some schools out of receivership that are there now, but it also evaluates them kind of with similar tools in terms of their performance but then it sounds more like it's proactively putting more resources in those schools to overcome the shortcomings that they have, which hopefully is, it's as good as it sounds, but I wish I knew exactly. I think it was put in by, I don't know if it's a teachers union or what group exactly put that, had that put on the in the Senate docket of bills. But the one thing that I think I have looked at it, and you can do a search on just that number in New York State Senate, and you'll find the bill and all of it was put in by James Scofis, Senate District 39, and it's co-sponsored by Jeremy Cooney, Samra Brooke, and James Cohan and Jabiri Brisport. Cooney and Brooke are kind of local, I believe. So they were also among the folks who backed the short distance busing. So hopefully they have the same progressive and good intentions to improve the way the district does its work, but would be a lot easier, a lot more reassuring if we had somebody really look at it, go over it with a fine-tooth comb. So anyways, I had hoped that we would find out more about that today, and maybe we will yet if some of the folks who haven't joined us yet make it here. The Race Forum, that was the group that started under Bill Johnson, I think, in the last administration. They were looking at various ways to overcome some of the institutionalized racism that exists in the Rochester hierarchy of companies and governments and schools and you name it. We're all the less than happy inheritors of years and years of the state and the federal government and local governments applying malicious regulations to basically reduce the prosperity of the minorities in Rochester, and we're still trying to weed that out of the system as it stands right now. And they had come up with a number of suggestions, anti-racist processes. They had various books one could read to become familiar with some of these issues, and the Coalition for Public Education, which Lee is also part of, and Eleanor gets a lot of their literature also. They've done a lot of work trying to study some of these issues so that people become aware of it. The objective is that we really need to start teaching in all of our schools what really has gone on, because redlining, some of us knew about it. You probably were aware of it, Eleanor, but most people, I came to Rochester and really I knew there had been a riot about 3-4 years before I came out here, But I didn't have any fear of it. I taught at the Lewis Street. I taught photography at the Lewis Street Settlement House the first year I was here in the summer, and it was, over the years I thought we were making progress, and then here we are in 2022, and we are in the most segregated county in the country, and our city schools are, very poor and poor performing. So it's we're going to have to really make sure that truth is taught in our schools, that the kids realize what has happened. Because you go out to, occasionally I'll go out to Webster, where life is worth living, as they say out there, and it's, you forget just how white some of the suburbs are, because I've been living in the city since I came here, and I enjoy the diversity we've got here, but it's time for us to really try to make sure that the teaching that goes on in all of our schools includes making sure we teach the truth about the various racist policies that existed. You could get loans if you moved out to Greece or to Webster or whatever to get to build a house or improve a house if you were white, especially. But then they made the laws were such that it was difficult for black families to have equal chances. So here we are, where currently the average value of a black household is a fraction of the value of a white household in terms of how much money they've been able to put in the bank because of all these this subterfuge, which has hurt everybody in the city.
For what it's worth, John, I was a college student in July of 1964, working in the city at French's Mustard between my freshman and sophomore year. And I remember it quite well, the whole experience of the riots in July, that weekend in July in 64. And the fact that Mayor Frank Lamb, Rochester Mayor Frank Lamb, appeared on television when he was interviewed by the news media, claimed that he didn't know that there was a problem. And so he didn't think there really was a problem, and didn't understand why people were so upset that they would become violent on an evening in July.
Mm-hmm.
I don't call presenting that to a group of people studying Rochester history as critical race theory. It's just explaining to people how things were, who said what, and that if you think Rochester, New York was exempt from the redlining that was going on in most other American cities at the time, redlining by the banks in terms of who would be allowed to borrow money to purchase a home, in what ward, what neighborhood. It's a fact of life. It's not a theory. And you can pull up the news film footage and just play it for yourself. It's not subjective, it's objective. You can hear what these people are saying, and they were sufficiently unenlightened that it was going to take a long, long time for things to even begin to change. So looking back on it, I guess it was after I left high school, so I wasn't going to get anything about this in social studies class or American history. I was going to have to read it in the newspaper and watch it on television.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, it's just in the past few years here that it really, you have to go digging to get out all the information about the history of the redlining in Rochester. And they're just starting to teach it in some of the schools now. And hopefully that makes, starts really making a difference. The thing that is, our experiences can be so different depending on where we grew up in the Rochester area, or I was born in Belgium under Nazi occupation at the time, but within a couple of years of when I came on the scene, the GIs came through and pushed the Nazis out. But then I came here when I was 7, and we settled in Massachusetts, in a town of Jefferson, Massachusetts. And my senior year in high school, we finally had a black person a student. He was in the photography club with me, and nice kid. But they're just in those. Our high school was a regional high school that took in 5 townships, and there weren't any black people in that area. And I don't know. I really wish I could, get back in touch with somebody and say, have you guys figured out what was going on there? Because was it just self-selection when there was the migration north, when a lot of black people came north to find jobs in factories? I don't know what the story was. There were some Puerto Ricans. In fact, our class president was Puerto Rican, so it wasn't that there was a strong prejudice against Puerto Ricans, but it's just so weird. Now, when I went to college in Boston, I went to MIT for a year, and there, of course, it was a very multicultural situation with a lot of black and brown folks, and of course in the colleges themselves you had people from all over the world attending. But on the west side of Worcester, Massachusetts, where I grew up, it was a very, very white population. I'd like to know the story behind that one too. It's probably not all roses, but so there are a lot of things to find out about in the various parts of the states. I remember I was teaching junior achievement. I did that for 7 years after I started at Kodak, and had a young gal who was our secretary, I think, in one of the little companies, because junior achievement, they set up a little company and run it, and it's I wouldn't have done well as a CEO, I'll tell you, because my companies never did all that well. But she asked me one time, why do they call us minorities? There are more of us than there are white people. And, you live in Rochester and that's what you see. But you go in other places and it's very different. So, anyways, we've got a lot of work to do on that score. Rochester Coalition for Public Education. That's the group that some of us also work with, and they've been working hard to try to push for eliminating high stakes testing to make the schools more to make the evaluation of students in our schools reflect their intelligence more than the testing, which often has questions on there that are based a lot on people's background rather than necessarily what they've been learning in school. So this year the school has decided not to give history tests, is it? That's a result of some of the recent shootings that have taken place in school. They seem to feel that would be.
Yeah, it's John. It's the state education department, in particular the regents, the board of regents, and they've decided to cancel the American History Regents exam.
Yeah.
Not postpone it, cancel it.
Yeah. So that's.
What's the purpose of that?
Of canceling it,
Yeah.
they felt that I'm trying to think of the words I read yesterday. That in light of what's happened in this elementary school in Texas and all of the anger that it's bringing up and confusion and everybody blaming everybody else, they decided that it would create too stressful a situation for students at this point to be regurgitating things about American history and studying for an exam, and so they opted to cancel it. I'm not sure I understand the logic of that. I think it's more emotional than logical, but it almost sounds like they were looking for a reason to cancel the Regents exam in American history, and so they decided that this would be a good reason.
They when I say they, it's of course the media we hear who come up with this, but from New York State, mainly from Buffalo's incident, some of the either literature or terms that may be used in the regents may cause, so they say, may cause trauma to some of the students. So they just decided to cancel it so that those factors won't, if a child or student fails their exams due to some of these triggers, it can't be used against them for that reason.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. I don't that sounds like a better reason, and I guess maybe I had my schools mixed up. It really was the Buffalo situation from 2 weeks ago that was the reason that the state ed and the board of regents gave for that, not Texas.
Yeah, the Buffalo situation was definitely very racial in nature. White supremacists trying to kill as many black people as he could. In Texas, it was just that they're crazy about guns down there. And I'm sure there's going to be a big to-do about the Second Amendment and not changing gun laws, but we'll see how that goes. Okay.
Local busing update. is the only thing left.
Yeah, the busing and talking. I was talking to Katarina, who, as you probably recall, used to be the principal over at School 17, which in the Southwest Common Council Education Committee and 19th Ward Schools Committee, we've been kind of looking at 17 and the history it went through when Ralph Spezio first turned it into a really wraparound services community school, which provided health care and dentistry and all sorts of support services for the kids who came from the community around the school at the time. And then it went kind of downhill after he left there. And Katarina eventually went back into School 17 and has worked very hard for the last probably 4 or 5 years that she was there, trying to bring it back as a community school. And one of the things that had changed, unfortunately, since Ralph initially made this wonderful transformation there, was that when he was principal back in the 90s, principal could say, stop the busing, I'm just going to take kids who walk to school from the neighborhood. And that's what he had done. And he did a lot of work trying to make sure that the kids would be safe on their way to and from school. And that ensured that the kids that attended the school were from that community, and that meant that the parents could go to the school easily to talk to the teacher, see a play that the kids are putting on or whatever, rather than being bussed all over the city, which is the case in most of our schools. And she managed to get I think it was a foundation grant to do some local busing to that school, because for about 2 or 3 years kids in the immediate area could get bused unless they were just going across the street, of course. But so she had local busing there, and that was working out pretty well. And then last year they did away with it. The grants had gone, and who knows what goes on in the minds of central office, but it became a big issue of contention. And for some reason, she got bumped upstairs basically to get her out of School 17, and I think the person in charge right now is trying to do well. I think 17 came out of receivership, which of course is one of the things that can be is not always a blessing, because you have a lot of extra support and flexibility when you're in receivership, that the school can pump more resources into the school. So anyways, she's been thrilled that we've, after 10 years of beating our heads against the wall, that finally there's 2 bills in the Assembly and Senate to provide local busing, or at least as local as we've been able to get it, half mile instead of 1.5 miles. That's a huge difference if you ever looked at the area that covers. So she was still gushing about the fact that we managed to get that in the works, and it probably will go through. And the thing I was trying to find out about was how this new legislation is going to play into that. It could be that it works well with the local busing, and that it'll be, that things will work better, but we'll see. It's hard to say until you actually see how it gets implemented. So that's If anybody was not at the last meeting, there's a video of it in that I sent out with the invitations, and of course we have also the excellent notes that Eleanor has always taken. Who was it? I was talking to somebody who mentioned the incredible amount of information that is on location 19 from all the work we've done. We're going to have to make sure that somehow that gets brought forward, because there's always more things to do than there are hours in the day. So if you have anybody that you know who wants to maintain location 19, who likes to take care of websites, we've got that going, that it'll need some ongoing work. Well, I had higher hopes for getting more information out of some of these, but Damon Meeks was supposed to be with us, and he's one of the folks who helped put those bills in, but he didn't make it. Anything else that we ought to talk about? Do you have anything from School 19 or from the rec centers that you can talk about, Cameron?
What I will talk about is the partnership that I have with both locations. Since Mr. Lee started off talking about, his site coordinator and the relationship that they have built and some plans they have moving forward. I too have the privilege to work with here at School 19, connected to the Lightfoot Art Center, Principal Silas Lee and her site coordinator, Miss Melody Bishop. They've been great since I've been here with collaborations with us. We work together as a team on different levels for different things, including activities and programs. Just today, I actually went into the school for personal reasons for a student that I know, but he's a third grader, but he's been giving, some of those third grade problems in school, and mom can't make it to the school. So I told her to please put me on the contact list so that I can start stepping in to help her, because she also has a little baby and 2 other children. But anyhow, so far since last week, I've built the great relationship with the students' teachers. And also I got the chance today to pop in on him during his lunch break, and then after that into one of his classes, just to see where he might be struggling. And of course I would know some of the Art Center's participants, but in school they're students. And so as I'm here with the one student that I'm very familiar with, I see the others. So at lunch they want to do things that they think they can do and get away with. So I'm sitting there talking to my friend here, and I turn and I'm like, okay, Mr. Tamir, you shouldn't be doing that. I'll see you at rec. He's like, like that. So the teachers is like, thank you. So just building that connection here and also at School 12 with the principal and her assistant principal, Katie Trepanier, and assistant principal Margaret Crowley. They, all 4 people that I mentioned, are doing fantastic jobs. Since I've been at both sites, it's just they're needed at the schools they are at. I'll just say it that way. The programs they're doing are phenomenal. So I'm very happy and privileged to be working with them. And then here at school, the Art Center here at Lightfoot, we are planning some future activities. One, this Saturday, we're having a basketball tournament right here on site in the afternoon. And then but the goal is to have it more like a peace basketball tournament. Everything we're doing, we're trying to include the word peace instead of saying non-violence or anti-violence, because
Very
Peace.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, peace
Well,
just sounds more.
Also, you're getting what you want. You know,
Yeah,
attract
exactly.
what you want. I like
Exactly.
that.
So that's our focus at both sites. Just gearing activities and programs around the thought of peace, whether it's a cooking class, a peaceful cooking class, a peaceful homework. So everything is just peace. So today we went over some active shooter and active killer drills with the participants here. They didn't understand at first why we were doing it. So because I actually had the staff randomly do it with them. Most of our participants were outside playing group games. So I said, perfect time to do these drills. And so all the kids came running towards the door, and I'm like, okay, let's stop here. So I wanted to see how they were told about the drill and what was going to take place. They just said, we were told to run. I was like, no. So I took them all back to the field, all the staff included, and we walked through why we were doing what we were doing today and why it's important to have these drills done, not only at school, but at the art centers, but also at home as well. And before we even did the drills, I made sure everyone knew it was a drill that we will practice every week across all of the art centers. It's something that we've been doing and will continue to do. But just reiterate the importance, especially within the last few months, of the different types of violence that's been happening across the world and right here in Rochester as well. So we just want to be as prepared as we can be. So we went through drills today. We do them at the art centers with not just the staff, but city security, Vince McIntyre and his team, also sometimes the Rochester Police Department as well, and some other organizations or partners such as Pathways to Peace and also SNUG, which I forgot what SNUG stands for, but they operate from downtown on, I believe it's Water Street maybe. But,
Yeah.
Okay. So they've been doing some good work with us as well.
Great. You give me hope as I listen to you. You're so into what you're doing there that I can see.
I love it. That's why I'm still here. I've only worked recreation as my job since I was about 15 years old, and I'm still here. So
Nice.
it's a fantastic job to have. And in my role now, of course, as a manager, things have to be a little different the way I do things, but I still work my interactions in the way I need to. So yeah.
Well,
really nice.
we're
Thank you.
fortunate to have you there.
Little hope.
Yes,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
for sure. Okay, well, School 19 and Monique, Silas, Lee, and Melody, boy, those two are just fantastic. When my daughter went to Wilson, Monique was also attending that same class. I don't think they really met all that much, but it was every time I see Monique, I say, I wish that Jocelyn had met her and brought her home.
Yeah.
She still looks like she could be in high school.
Yeah, she
Yes,
really
she
does. She does. And today I watched her, guide the buses into the parking lot. And their parking lot is not even that big, but I sat there in the parking lot because I was picking up the student, and she's so tiny. So I'm just watching her, and the car tried to turn in, and she turned around. She was like, no. So I was like, this little lady here with these big old buses. She's good though, really
She
good.
is great, yeah.
Art.
Okay, well, we've got anything else that we should touch on? Nothing else that you can think of in terms of how are things working out now with the traffic out in front of 19? I know we had problems initially.
To me, from my perspective and what I've seen in the last, I would just say few weeks, the traffic has been flowing really well.
Oh, good.
There is, especially when there's dismissal of school, you would think it's going to be really congested. They do a great job of keeping it pushing.
Good.
There is a crossing guard who is on the opposite side of the school and the street there, who does a great job of, especially the traffic coming up that one way behind him or her who's ever crossing that day. of manning that traffic, and then the front of the school is like flawless. So they do a good job.
Good.
Hmm.
Yeah, when they did some of those changes to the traffic there for a while, it was, I guess, pretty much bedlam, but
Yeah,
must be they've settled into not
yeah.
doing.
And I think with Principal Silas Lee outside at the end of the day, directing the way she does, it definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, great. Very good. I guess that covers everything that I can think. Oh, one thing. June 4th is the Square Fair.
Square Fair. Yeah.
And Aberdeen Square right in front of School 16 there. And I'm hoping that we will have some tables there for the Southwest Common Council and 19th Ward Schools Committees to just answer questions. And I think I saw something from Mia from School 16 sending something over to the 19th Ward folks to have some tables for the teachers. So anyways, if you've got anything where you want to be able to talk about the rec centers, or I'm not sure if the rec centers have got anything going to.
We can always promote our summer programming at those type of events.
Yeah.
We do have a field trip that day, but I can figure out a way to have someone represent, at least for a duration of time, at the festival.
Yeah, that would be good, because I've got old posters that we did from past years that we can drag out, and they look pretty and they attract attention, but it would be nice to have current information to share with
And it would be
people.
good to have recreation information
Oh,
there,
yeah, for
because
sure.
it shows the connection between recreation and the schools and the
Yes.
importance
Oh,
of
yeah.
that connection.
Exactly. So if you can just send me a reminder to my email for that, we'll be there
Okay.
at some point of the day.
We'll do that. Thank you very much. And
You're
if
welcome.
you were
Thank
looking
you.
to recruit folks, Lee, there's always a chance to try to recruit some volunteers for the schools there. Okay, shall we call it a day, or
Call it.
call it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody. It's been a pleasure seeing all of you again. And
Yeah.
we'll see you next month.
All right. Take care, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Carmen. Thank
Have a
you.
good one,
Bye,
guys.
Lee.
You're welcome.